welcome back. I'm so glad to be back and able to film. It has been such a long time since I've actually filmed a full video for you guys. A couple of days ago I posted just a really quick recap of where I have been for the last few months. We've been traveling a lot. You might notice I'm in a new location because we are now in a different apartment. My apologies up front because this apartment is just as loud as our last apartment. I think one of you asked me once, where do I live that it's so loud outside? And I live in Honolulu. You would think Honolulu is a nice, peaceful, quiet, beachy place, but it's still a city, and this is just where we are. So anyway, I apologize if there's background noise, but there's not much I can do about it. For right now, I am going to invest, there's a moped, in a directional mic, but I just have not gotten to it yet because we just got back less than a week ago. So I am back, I am ready to film. Today's video is going to be all about my top 10 tips for flying with toddlers. I have flown with my son now. I think he's been on 15 different flights. He is not yet 2 years old, so he has always been on my lap for the entirety of the flight. And I will go through my top 10 tips for how to manage that. Half the time that I have flown, it's just been me. My husband hasn't been able to get as much time off of work as I've been able to, mostly because, you know, I'm just a stay-at-home mom, so my schedule is pretty flexible. But he's had to meet us at our location several times, so I've flown only with my son probably half of those times that he has flown. So I have experience flying with someone and all by myself. So let's just go ahead and dive into my tips to try and make traveling with a toddler a little bit easier. Alright, so I've come up with 10 different things that might make traveling a little bit more simple for you. Some of these things are common sense, some of these things I've just learned in my experience. They may not work for you, everybody's situation is different and unique, but I figured I might as well share what has worked for me and has made my life a little bit more simple when traveling. I've traveled both domestic and internationally with my toddler. We, like I said at the beginning of the video, live in Hawaii, so the quickest trip to anywhere, mainland US, is still a 5-hour flight. So these are long flights that we are talking about. I've never had to take a flight shorter than 5 hours with my son. So you may not need to prepare quite as much as I needed to if your flight is shorter than that. But I've taken anywhere from a 5-hour flight to I think it was an 11-hour flight with him when we traveled internationally this last time. So these tips, take them with a grain of salt, but hopefully they will be helpful to you in some way. My first tip is make sure you leave plenty of time to get through security. When you're traveling with a toddler, not only are they going to want to do their own thing and you have to kind of wrangle them in to keep them where they need to be, but you have a lot of extra stuff. So it's going to take some time to unpack that stuff, unpack any snacks, or if you brought milk, or if you know, if they have any kind of special foods or needs or medicine, you're going to have to take time to make sure that all of that goes through security well. Some airports are super lax on their restrictions for you know, baby food or, you know, milk or any of that, and some airports are super strict. I have traveled through both of them, and it's a pain to go through security when you are pressed for time. So just make sure that you leave plenty of time to get through security. I know you don't want to be at the airport for too long when you have a toddler that's just going to be running around, but you'd much rather, that's a truck, sorry, you'd much rather be going through security with plenty of time than being pressed for time. Trust me, it will make the whole experience of flying a lot more pleasant. And like I said, every TSA is different, so you may want to check with your local airport to see what kind of restrictions they have, if they're going to let you keep the child in a carrier while you go through security, if they're going to make you take out all your baby food, how to pack. It's just going to make it a little bit easier if you check with your airport. Number 2, nonstop flights are your best friend. Layovers, not so much. If it's not possible to book a flight without a layover, it's okay. I mean, don't stress about it too much. But a nonstop flight, once you're on the airplane, you're just going to want to get to where you're going. So if you can book a nonstop flight, it's not too much more expensive. You know, the location that you're going to, they have a direct flight there. Go for it. It's going to be a lot less stress for you. And that being said, if you can book a red-eye flight, I love red-eye flights. I don't know how other people with children or toddlers feel about them, but I think they're fantastic. My son, maybe he's just a really awesome kid, but he has slept through almost every single red-eye flight that we've taken him on, sometimes for 7 hours, 8 hours at a time, which has been fantastic. It makes my life a lot more, you know, a lot less stress, a lot more simplified. I don't have to worry about entertaining him the whole time. The only thing it's not great for is if I have to go to the bathroom, but that's okay. I can deal with that. I find that if you do book a red-eye flight, what's helped us a lot is to go through the whole bedtime routine that we have at home as much as possible. I brought pajamas for my little boy. I brought his toothbrush. I made sure to bring his Curious George doll that he loves, and I brought a familiar blanket. So we went ahead and on the plane, I changed him. Actually, when we were in the airport, I brushed his teeth because you're not really supposed to use the water in the bathroom. I don't know. On the airplane, it's kind of gross. But so we brushed his teeth in the airport, but I made sure I had his pacifier, his Curious George doll, his blanket, all of that stuff, and we went through the whole bedtime routine. I sang him a little song. I told him it was time to lay down on my chest, and it took a little bit of coercing a couple of times, but every time he would end up going to sleep, and he knew it was bedtime, even though we were on an airplane, even though it was different surroundings, and he slept pretty much the whole time. So I love red-eye flights. I love nonstop flights, and if you're going to do it, going through a bedtime routine really helps out. Just to let them know that just because things are different doesn't mean that they get to stay up the whole night. Okay, so tip number 3, window seat or aisle seat. This is a debate. I've looked up a lot of different people's opinions on this because I was trying to decide, especially when I was traveling alone, which seat I should book. When I was traveling with my husband, we just tried to get, you know, that row of 2 on that end. That just happened to be how the planes were for us. And so we had a window and an aisle seat, and it was totally fine. But when traveling alone, I still prefer a window seat to an aisle seat. I know a lot of people go the other way on this. They say an aisle seat's the way to go so that if you have to get up, you're not disturbing anybody. But I find it a lot easier to keep my child contained in a window seat. I only have to worry about them bumping into someone on one side. They're not going to sneak out and, you know, run off in the aisle. I don't have to worry about their hands being out in the aisle when the cart comes through for, you know, beverages and snacks. Okay, sorry, my camera stopped recording for some reason. Anyway, my son loves looking out the window on an airplane. So for him, a window seat is kind of another form of entertainment because it's one less thing that I have to try and entertain him with. Also, I feel like for some reason there's just slightly more room on a window seat, especially on those red-eye flights. It gives me just a little bit of extra wiggle room to be able to lay my son down or to rest my head. And once or twice I've had him like sit up on the arm of the seat too for just a second while I get something out of the bag underneath the seat or something like that. So I still prefer a window seat to an aisle seat. Maybe that's just because when I'm traveling alone, like by myself, not with a toddler, I prefer a window seat as well. But I think in general it's just a little bit easier to travel on a window seat than an aisle seat. You gotta kind of call that one on your own, but that's my opinion. Tip number 4, I find it very helpful to bring my ergo carrier with me. My son's pretty heavy now, so I don't use my ergo as much as I used to. I know that it says that you can take kids like up to, I don't know, like 40 pounds or something like that in it, but I find it really helpful on the airplane. When he was a baby, I used to use my Moby wrap all the time because that was just more comfortable and I would keep him secure in it when we were actually on the plane. You're not supposed to keep kids in the carrier while you're taking off or while you're landing, but to board the plane, to get through the airport, especially if you have to run from one flight to another, that's really helpful. I've never traveled with my stroller or with my car seat, just as a little side note, because every place that I've gone, we've been going to families' houses, and they all have car seats and strollers and everything at, you know, the location that we're traveling to. So I've never taken that stuff with me. I don't think it would be difficult. Sorry about all the traffic noise. I don't think it'd be too difficult to take your stroller or your car seat with you. But but you'll have to YouTube another video to find out tips about that because I've never had to travel with those things. My carrier is my transportation device of choice to get through the airport. I find it to just be helpful, especially through security. I've only had to take my son out of the carrier, I think, 2 times to go through security. Every other time they've let me keep him in the carrier, which has been really helpful. And then boarding the plane, I don't have to worry about him walking the right way or me carrying my carry-on. He's just attached to me, and it's just kind of a source of comfort for him too. So I recommend bringing the carrier with you. I haven't used it really on the plane since he's become a toddler, but at least getting on the plane and getting off the plane, getting to where we need to go, especially traveling alone, it's been a lifesaver. If you're traveling with someone, you may not need a carrier, but I was all alone, and that gave me both my arms back. So I really liked traveling with my baby carrier. Tip number 5. Bring more diapers and wipes than you think you're going to need, because I guarantee you, the one time that you don't bring more than you think that you need, you're going to need them. I am a big believer in being slightly over-prepared when traveling. I know you want to save space, you don't want to bring a ton of stuff with you, but diapers and wipes, if you run out of those, finding anything baby-related in an airport is really difficult, and those are 2 things that you do not want to be without. When we were traveling, our flight ended up being delayed by 2 hours. All of our flights, like I said before, were really long flights, and I just brought as much stuff as I could. You don't want to run out of diapers and wipes. Also, wipes are a really good thing to have because they're good to wipe down the seat with, wipe off hands with, they're good to clean up messes. They're definitely going to be used for a lot more than just diaper changes. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of those things with you, because that's one less thing you'll have to worry about. You know, you don't want to have to be concerned with your son or daughter having had a massive blowout and, you know, going to the bathroom like 4 times more than they usually do at home, and all of a sudden you're out of diapers or you're let down to your last diaper and you don't know what to do. That's a horrible feeling. Don't be faced with it. Bring more than you think you're going to need. Especially if you do have layovers, because you never know if a flight gets delayed or canceled or what the deal is. Tip number 6, this is probably my favorite tip: snacks, 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 and more snacks. My son is very food motivated. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet, but I can keep him occupied with snacks pretty easily. I like to bring chopped up fruit, sometimes chopped up veggies as well, depends on the vegetable. Those little packets, you know, the Gerber ones or the Plum Organics or whichever brand you prefer, they are fantastic to travel with. There is no cleanup. There is, unless your toddler squeezes it, usually no mess. And I usually don't have a problem with them in security. They usually come in 3.5 ounce or 4 ounce packages, and baby food is no longer restricted to 3 ounces at a time, so you can still bring them. Some airports will inspect them thoroughly. My airport out of Honolulu usually doesn't even make me take them out of my bag. I love them over here. They're fantastic. But they travel really, really well. So I say do bring a bunch of those. They're also a great way to sneak in some veggies. Snacks on the plane generally tend to be more carbohydrate loaded. So having packets with vegetables and some healthier fruits and stuff like that are great. I also bought a huge bag of goldfish, even though I don't usually let my son have goldfish, just because I know that he loves them, and they were kind of a good tool to bribe with when I needed to motivate him to sit down and stay still and behave. But just make sure that you have enough food with you, because the only thing worse than a cranky toddler is a cranky toddler who is also a hungry toddler and you don't have anything to feed them. They only have pretzels and peanuts on most planes, sometimes cookies. Pretzels and peanuts still aren't really that safe for a toddler. Pretzels maybe, but peanuts not so much. And plus allergies, you don't want to have to worry about it. Bring as many snacks as you can, and they're great for when you get hungry too. Number 7, bring favorite toys, books, a lovey, stuffed animal. Bring some familiar favorites with you. I brought like 6 or 7 of my son's favorite stories, and I made sure to have a couple of his favorite toys with me as well. You never know what they're going to want to do on the airplane. And like I said before, I personally would rather be over-prepared than under-prepared. It ended up serving me very, very well, and I will get to that in a minute as to why I was grateful that I brought so many stories with me. But first, tip number 8 is bring one new toy or one new story, one book, a new stuffed animal, whatever kind of thing your toddler loves. Having something new can be really exciting, and so it could take up a lot of time. Try to make sure that it's something that they're gonna really enjoy playing with, because it'll be pretty disappointing to buy something new and then have them look at it for a second and like toss it to the side. So something new that's exciting, that's maybe something that you don't let them have at home very often, that's going to be something that's going to keep them entertained and engaged. The novelty of something new actually goes a long way. So now would be a really good time to give them an exciting treat that you wouldn't normally give them when you were at home. Tip number 9, bring backup entertainment. I personally was banking on the fact that since my flights were so long from Honolulu to the mainland, that there would be the entertainment consoles in the backs of the seats. And for almost every flight, that was true. However, on the first flight from here, I think my layover was in Portland, that flight was just over 5 hours, and it was a daytime flight because I could not get a red eye my first flight, and there was no entertainment console in the back of the seat. Now, my son is under 2 years old. I try my best to not let him watch too much television, but every now and then I do let him watch it. He loves Curious George. He is obsessed with Curious George, and the entertainment console, he just likes to press all the buttons on the back of the seat, choose new wallpaper, play tic-tac-toe, whatever. It's not like I bring headphones for him or anything. He doesn't need to necessarily hear it. He just likes to watch it sometimes. But I was really banking on the fact that on a 5-hour flight, during the day nonetheless, not counting on a nap time, there would be entertainment consoles. And the plane was older. They had them available to rent for $10 each, but I wasn't about to spend $10 so that my son could watch TV. It wasn't going to happen. So I was really grateful on that first flight that I brought a ton of stories, because we read stories the whole time. The flight attendants were great. They brought me a coloring book and crayons for him. But I was really grateful that I brought a lot of things for him to be entertained with, because I really had been banking on the fact that there would be some kind of movie that I could watch if I got really desperate, and there were not. So maybe bring a backup tablet if you have one, or a phone. Make sure all your things are charged too, because that would be terrible to all of a sudden have it die and not have a way to recharge it. But just bring what you can and try and have some kind of backup form of entertainment. Whether or not that's a movie, it might not be movies for your kids. Maybe your backup forms of entertainment are even more books, or an electronic toy or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is for you, just make sure you have something in case there isn't quite as much to distract your child as you thought there would be. And then tip number 10, this is by far the most important thing. Do not stress too much. Your flight is going to happen. You are going to get on, you are going to get off, and it's going to be over. Maybe you're leaving tomorrow, maybe you're leaving next week. At some point your flight is going to be over, and it's not going to be as bad as you have anticipated it to be. I know that traveling with a toddler, especially if you're traveling alone or if you're traveling with a toddler for the first time, it can be really stressful. But whether or not you like it, it's gonna happen, and it's not gonna be as bad as you think, I promise. Most people are going to be really helpful. The flight attendants are probably going to be great to you, willing to help with lifting your carry-ons, getting you extra snacks, maybe bringing more milk or water. Most people are really willing to lift a hand and to give you that little extra help that you might need when you're traveling. That being said, some people are absolutely horrible. I was getting on a couple of planes, and I had one person out loud look at me and say, "Oh, great," because I was carrying a baby. You know what? Babies are people too. Everyone was a baby at one point, and there's no need to be that rude to people. It really bothered me, but you just gotta let it roll off your back. You have your child, you are gonna be doing everything you can for them to keep them entertained and happy and behaving well, and people should just understand that. And if they don't, forget them, because what are you going to do? You're stuck in a metal tube for however many hours it is to get to your destination, and it is what it is. So don't stress too much. Your child is just a child. So don't freak out about them being too loud or obnoxious or, you know, whatever you're afraid that they're going to do. It's either going to happen or it's not. Hopefully it doesn't. I hope that you have a good flight. But don't stress too much about it, because people can deal. Don't worry too much about other people. I mean, by all means, try to make sure that your child is having a good flight and behaving well. But there's only so much you can do about it. So don't worry if things start to not go your way, or if people kind of give you rude glances. Just brush it off and know that this too shall pass. It's going to be okay, and you're going to have a great time on your trip. Hopefully you have a great time on your trip. I hope you're not traveling somewhere for something sad. If you are, I'm really sorry. Anyway, so those are my top 10 tips for traveling with your toddler. If I've forgotten anything, or if you have a helpful tip, leave it in the comments below. I know this is not going to be my last plane trip with my son, so I'd love to hear about your tips too. And if any of these things helped you, let me know. I hope they did. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to include, and I don't think that there is. So I hope that you all have been wonderful and having great times in your lives since I last spoke with you. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not already. If you have, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here on this ride with me. It really makes my day every time that I look and see that someone new has decided to join my channel. So welcome to all of you new subscribers. Thank you to all of my old subscribers. And please, if you want to visit me other places on the internet, everything is linked down below. I have my blog, Facebook, Instagram. I haven't really been blogging lately. I've just been so busy. It's been like super low on my priority list. Same thing with Facebook and Twitter, but I'm on Instagram pretty often. If you want to check out my pictures from my last trip all across North Carolina and Europe, you can check out my Instagram. I uploaded a ton of stuff there during our travel time. So subscribe and follow me other places. Leave comments if you'd like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.